Hi. We're here.
This is episode number 33 of DevBranch, our 2024 predictions. I'm Jason Tucker. Go over to my website, jasontucker.blog.
I'm Stay Reed, and I need a new picture. I do stuff at Stay Reed Media on all the things.
And y'all know who is it. Happy New Year.
And go over and listen to our podcasts. And you can even review it if you like on all the places that you can find great podcasts. And if you want to come and hang out with us, you can do so over on our Discord. Go over to our Discord at WPwatercooler.com/Discord. We also do a little after show as well using our Discord too. So we'll see you over there.
We also just got a message from our Discord active. Our Discord's actually a really great place to get news these days, especially since, you know, the tavern and all the post status is going wherever it's going, and you know, tavern's going wherever it's going. So the latest news though is that there was just an earthquake in Southern California. So we're all fine.
Where?
As like most, we didn't feel it.
Yeah, I didn't feel it, but it was just reported in the Discord. 4.8 in San Bernardino.
Oh, San Bernardino.
Anyway, it was interesting because that was coming through on the Discord right when you were saying that, and I was like, look, this is a really, you know, it's 2024 is the year to join the Discord. Come chat.
Yeah, is that your 2024 prediction? Say is that that our Discord will become even more popular than it is already.
You know what? Okay, I'm not going to take this out of the Dev Branch frame, but I do want to say that the Dev Branch channel. No, I don't want to. I want to keep it clean. The Dev Branch channel in our Discord is actually a really great place. Like, I know some folks have been getting help with things. We can like talk stuff out. There's like dev updates and news. So it's actually like, it's been very helpful as a channel. And it's not just, we're not all in there just chit chatting and, you know, posting hot takes. There is a channel for hot takes. So there are hot takes. But the Dev Branch channel and the Happiness and Support channel have been really thriving. I think we've been having some really interesting technical discussions. So, and there are some fairly official people in there who can answer questions about various products. So you should come in. That's all I'm saying. Come splash on in. That's my plug. Yeah. Happy 2024.
So, speaking of 2024, this is now, you know, new year, new like prospects, directions that we can take. I mean, same old us, same old me.
Same old me.
Yeah.
We're still here. What about you, Tucker? Same old Tucker?
Yeah. I mean, there's always something going on.
Sure.
Do you have a new kitchen yet?
No. We're past that. We're done at this point. We're not touching anymore.
It's same Tucker, new kitchen.
Yeah. The new kitchen was awesome. It worked out great for New Year's.
There you go.
Things went well with it.
Nice.
Although I have a new, if we're being myopic at the moment, I do have a new sort of frame for Dev Branch, which you kind of heard a little earlier, that I really want to at least personally make the distinction that the extracurricular talk of the community and the business side of stuff and all of that other kind of hallway track conversation, I personally am going to try to keep that really on water cooler, and then Dev Branch can really, you know, hone in on just, you know, general development and not have to have all the kind of, I don't know what to call it. It's not like clutter. It's like, you know, the extemporaneous stuff or something.
We've never been shy about getting in the weeds in Dev Branch. And that's
yeah.
So let's
leave the weed in the
now that we are 5 minutes in, let's dive into them weeds, shall we?
Sounds good.
Wait, are we staying out of the weeds or diving into the weeds? I'm not sure.
No, we're getting into the weeds.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
The dev weeds.
Yes.
Okay.
So 2024, like I was saying, it's a new year. The the cycle on WordPress 6.5 has kind of kicked off. There's some stuff that has carried over from previous years that
So
is
much carried over from 6.4.
Yes, that is supposedly coming in 6.5. I would really love to see the automatic update rollback stuff make it
Andy
into.
Fragan, what?
Yeah, I mean, I have been caping for that. My compatriot over at DreamHost hosts has really been talking it up and is just excited for it. I mean, as
All
someone
the sense, every sense,
as
all of it.
somebody who works at a web host who is constantly letting customers know when they have a security issue with their plugin, who like, hey, you got to update this like stat. It really behooves everyone in the hosting space to like have this working and everything else. And I know that there are hosts out there who lean on some kind of like visual regression testing and things like that, but having something built into core, so if a core auto update fails, that it'll roll back. And in security, you don't want that thing to roll back, like if there's a security patch or something like that. But keeping folks up to date on their stuff is going to be very big. And
Yeah, up
I
to
am
date in 24. There's
I
got to be a
am
rhyme
really
that I can do with that.
hoping that we land that. I'm really hoping that we get to and I had
There's
a little
three
bit.
releases. There's 3 releases every year. I
Yes.
completely disagree with the release schedule, especially after having been on the release squad last for 6.4.
Yes.
It is not in any way conducive to community participation, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
I understand that things need to roll on, but anyway, maybe at least two releases and a pickup release sort of deal, I think maybe is more of the focus. I think the turnover time is bonkers because we keep punting things. But if there's only 2 releases and we've got the entire year, I mean, if there's 2.5 releases and we have the entire year, I feel confident that at the very least, it's the plugin rollback. What is it exactly called? Do you remember what it's called exactly? Rollback plugin.
Right.
The thing where you roll back the plugins if you update them automatically.
Well,
that one.
plugins, core, any automatic updates that happen through the rollbacks already happen if you do an update through your WordPress dashboard. This
just
is
doesn't
like,
do it, right? If there's an actual like error.
Yeah. So if things roll or if you hit the update button, if you are actually in your WordPress dashboard, you update a plugin, you update core, anything like that, and or theme, if there is an issue, it will make an attempt to roll things back. And
I always thought of it more as like it doesn't finish the installation, but I guess it's kind of the same thing. Like it does the install, something doesn't work, and then it essentially does, roll it back,
right.
like rewrite it. I was always kind of thinking of it as being like it didn't take the final step of the install if it didn't work there. But
yes,
I don't know how that works, honestly.
Something that and this is maybe interesting to some. I know, say you said we'd try to keep the community and our
I'll keep that. You can break that as much as you want. Yeah.
Sure. But this is something that Matt said in a State of the Word back when we didn't even have WordCamp US.
It's only been 9 minutes and 34 seconds into the damn show. I'm talking about Matt. God.
But he mentioned this at I think the final WordCamp San Francisco, and said maybe it was that or the second to last one, where he would like WordPress and the updates that happen to WordPress and plugins and themes and everything else So this is a long time coming.
That is a long time. I remember that. He
But
said he wanted it to be like Chrome,
right.
where it was
And
just everything was updated. That was like 2012 or like 2013. It
right.
was literally
So
like 10 years ago.
Wow.
yeah. I mean, WordPress was still,
Mhm.
just a baby at 10 years old instead of 20. But so this
I'm
is
sorry,
going to
any
be a
10-year-old will tell you I'm not a baby, I'm a kid. So it was
sure.
just still a kid. Just like let's
Sure.
not get crazy.
So I am really excited for this because it will be a realization of that idea. And while I don't necessarily agree with the full statement that was said during that WordCamp, where it's like you won't even know what version of WordPress you're running, and most people don't know what version of WordPress they're running.
Right. But other
Um,
Until they
people
can't
do.
install something.
right, exactly, until they
Right.
can't install something.
Well, let's be
Um,
clear. The WordPress.com people do not know what version of WordPress they're running. So
if I recall correctly, for at least for a while, WordPress.com was running on trunk, so like they were getting all of the nightly updates and things that were going into WordPress core. WordPress.com, at least for a little while, and this might have been like back in like 2005, 2006, was like
at
running
one
just
point, this happened.
yeah. I do remember standing around a WordCamp and Barry or somebody was talking about it, and I was just like, "You guys are what?"
You got to look
Like,
up Barry, people, because I had to figure out who that was too. It's a
um,
WordPress old school back end runner of things. There's
so
these people
also
who are like literally like we talk about like the people holding up small parts of the internet. Like there's also people holding up small parts of WordPress, as we learned with the plugin review team, and it's the fact
absolutely.
that one person was doing the work of like 20.
Hi, Mika.
I think I hope the earthquake didn't bother you. Uh
So let,
yeah. So
but
this is
also
like really making that happen, like a possibility for like because a big problem that I know a lot of us had on water cooler we had with the automatic updates back in the day was that it would break stuff
yeah,
and there wasn't a way you had to literally like get back into the back end like rename your plugins folder or whatever it was to get back in to do the thing
I
and it
don't
all
want to name.
required back end access to fix
I
things.
right. I don't want to name names, but there were at least a couple Yoast. Okay, I'm gonna name names,
I guess
but
you
there were at least a couple Yoast updates that cratered more than a few sites when an auto update ran through and people had to
Mhm.
scramble. I remember having to support that, but to
I
get
mean, the
on.
the 6.4 update also scrambled a bunch of people with its automatic updates because of what was that?
And
I don't
speaking of
Yeah.
Barry had to
Mhm.
fix a thing with curl and the way that curl
Curl,
operated.
that's it, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
On the fly.
just to work around. But staying on 6.5, staying on the next release and stuff. I mean, these aren't really predictions. This is the roadmap. But
Sure.
Courtney brought it up, and it was something that I was already going to talk about the fonts API. It's a thing that's coming.
When
I
we
think
wait, hold on. When we say fonts API, are we talking specifically about the fonts manager, which was punted from 6.4 to 6.5, or is this an additional expansion of that?
no, I mean that
It's
is
that, right?
I believe that's what Courtney is talking about, but a
Yeah.
way to manage custom fonts in WordPress to a thing that I would eventually like to see. The kind of thing, the way that it's going right now, is like it will let you grab fonts from Google Fonts, which has a bunch of like open licensed fonts. It will install those fonts onto your system. I don't love that there is something like there is a way also to like upload your own fonts. However,
Oh, what if we okay.
the big integration is through Google Fonts right now, and I would really like to see something that doesn't necessarily phone home to Google anytime that I want to
That's
put
what
a
I was
new
just about
font
to say.
on
I
my
was like,
site.
oh my gosh, what about open fonts from WordPress, like fonts.wordpress.org, where you could go and
Yes.
like, that would be so cool. And you could also test them, on there. You could playground it and be like, go test your fonts. Any of these
Right.
fonts that are loaded in your playground. Oh, that would be so fun. And also great because it would be inherent. People could load their fonts into it. Like it would be like a sort of like the plugin directory or the theme directory. There'd be a font directory.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties into the kind of open verse concept also, or where it's like the photos are available within your admin. They're like right there. So then it'd be like, here's this amazing treasure trove of fonts. And again, it is available because of Google, but if we're trying to be, our own little world, that would be so cool. I love fonts. That would be really fun. And also, you know what that would speak to? The design kind of bent that a lot of the project leadership has. That could be a little fun
Right.
place for them to play.
I am a web nerd of a certain age. I spent a lot of time in
I want
Adobe.
that on my Mastodon profile now. A
Of a
web
certain
nerd of a certain
age.
age.
I
Love
have
it.
spent a lot of time in Photoshop, in Adobe InDesign, like back in the day, and making zines. I had the
Zings.
so many 1,000 free fonts, and of course like CDs and everything, and of course only like 7 of the fonts on those 1,000 free fonts were any good. But like, oh
Definitely.
man, just digging through all of those fonts, like that
I
is what my bookmarks are right now, is just a
this
bunch of
font.
fonts where I'm just like, oh, this one's pretty. Oh, this one's like, let me find a reason to do this. I mean, the WP water cooler logo is just because I was like, oh, I found this really cool font. Hey, Tucker, I made a new logo. And of course
You're like, can I make
it's
something with this font, please?
yeah.
Yay.
What do you think of this? And Tucker's like, yeah, it's cool. Let's go with it. And I mean, fonts, man, just
Yeah.
Let's font it
freaking
up. I
fonts.
think that would be so cool. I would love to be on like a font team. That'd be neat. I think that would, there are design opportunities within like contributing to WordPress, but this could
Yes.
really bring in a whole new world. And I think it would really, speak to the kind of the arty web people like that are out
Sure.
there, and the
Sure.
people who also sometimes don't want to use Google Fonts for everything because of the Googleness of it, the proximity to evil. It's really what,
Right.
if we're trying to like, I mean, obviously we're all attached to the Google in some form or another, but I know that it's nice to I think it feels like it's possible to create alternatives now, as opposed to before it was just like, well, just use the Google because you can't, you can't, there's no other choice. But I feel like that a font's like its own font library, WordPress's own font library would really speak to the community and give it an expansion point to the community. Oh, I love
So
it.
so far, like I said, we've kept talking about just what's on the roadmap. I don't feel like that is interesting enough to necessarily hang a show on. Tucker, you were talking a little bit about how you had plenty to say this episode, and you've been fairly quiet. I've been dominating the conversation. So
Yeah.
please, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear some Tucker takes.
Well,
Me too.
I've been using micro.blog as my blogging platform for my
Yeah.
website, and
Wait, you've been using what?
micro.blog as my
You are
blogging
such an
platform.
experimenter. He
And
really is.
so
You're like a tinkerer.
well, yeah, you get burnt out on something, and I've
I
been
know
very
that
burnt out
feeling.
on WordPress. I've been very burnt out on WordPress, to be honest. And I wanted something ultra simple and just kind of like type in some stuff, hit submit, it makes it into the Fediverse, and everything's happy, and it has no frills. It's like the most basic thing ever for me. And
Right.
I'm really enjoying it. And I think it's a great way to kind of go back to what you want to do with your website, which is I just want to write content and put stuff out there, and that's it. It's long form, short form. That's it. I'm not trying to do anything else. And so it really pisses me off when I go to my other website and I need to go and write something. And I'm like, oh,
You mean this one?
I actually, I have to like drag blocks around and I got to do this and that. And I got to worry about how this is going to look. And did I test this and whatever?
Blocks around. I really hate it.
I know, it's the worst. It's just,
I end up using the little arrows just because the dragging is so annoying. So I'm like,
yeah.
I feel like it's like so pedantic. Like it's so yeah, I don't want to get into that, but I do feel like it doesn't feels very like analog for being a text. I'm like, I don't know how this feels analog, but somehow it does.
Yep.
So Tucker, do you want to maybe try playing around with Classic Press and seeing if that scratches your itch to?
No, actually, don't want to. I don't want to at all.
He's had enough lost causes on his plate.
Yeah, sure. I think what I'm finding is in doing this is that I don't have to worry about updates. I don't have to worry about any extra pieces, plugins. It has a plugin technology, but it's very basic. And so I don't know. It's just, if I'm going to write something, I don't want to log in and have like, here's 100 tasks I have to do before I can actually do the thing. Cause I'm not one of those people that has to like make all the notification bubbles disappear on my phone, where I know some folks in my family are very much, hypersensitive to that, where I'm not. But when I log into my website, I don't want to see like 500 plugin updates that are like waiting for me to do it. And I'm like, oh, I gotta go take care of those now.
Why were there balloons?
Because you're on a Mac.
What?
It's because you're on a Mac.
What just happened? That doesn't. Did you say something?
You made a gesture that apparently your Mac's camera picked up. And
what the hell just happened? Sorry, I was listening intently. I was paying attention, and my computer won't even let me do that. I'm trying to listen in 2024, and I'm sitting here listening, and my computer's like, "Here's a squirrel." What the hell?
Even your computer has ADD. This completely tracks.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, that's true. I'm sorry I interrupted you with my balloons and
that's all right. So the other thing I've been kind of thinking about is in regard to like how my work uses WordPress. So we're on like an older version of Beaver Builder because we had a collection of different plugins and different pieces of plugins and themes and whatnot that just stopped working right. And there was some stuff that I know, and you're just like, what am I going to do? Do I need to like rebuild this whole website?
This is why I've not built out anything in, and I'm going to build some stuff this year, but for that same reason, like if something's not when you do that, when you start building in a direction, and then it all like, you can't trust it all collapses, like, or, this isn't, you have to keep swapping things out. Like, that is just so frustrating because you get to a point where you are like, I have to basically rebuild. I can't like back out of this choice. And then you're like transferring data and moving tables around and like, trying to, then you've got old tables from dead plugins that, nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is like, like I've said before, like WordPress at work is like 10% of my job. I mean, I'm like neck deep in all sorts of other technologies I'm having to worry about. And so WordPress is outside of what it is. And I'm supporting a team that is our communications team, and they have their own stuff they have to worry about. And it's just content. And so they just want their content to work. And I don't know. It's like,
we should talk about your next Airtable integration for that.
Yeah, that would,
sorry, I can help you with that.
That would definitely be the thing
I have a solution for you. Actually, this actually works with the idea of those kind of dead ends, because if you can take your data, which is really funny, like if you're taking your data that is, your extemporaneous data out of the WordPress database and then only put in very standardized specific things, it is much easier to manage the site than it is if people are going directly in there, because then you can, I know it's, and this is kind of sad, because the whole idea, right, is that you could log into your WordPress, you could do all this stuff, but to a point now, it's like you can do too much and you have to take so many actions. Like I'm always, for my various clients, I'm always like setting up all these different, different roles and different permissions and different admin screens and blocking things out. So they don't log in and see all the notifications that make it look like it's broken to them. Right. And so those become plugins that are managing all of that stuff. I actually had a real issue I have an issue with that specific thing on a site that is using User Role Editor
Oh,
Pro.
yeah, the one that you can't buy it
It's
with a
in
credit
Russia.
card.
Yeah.
Right.
And so they literally can't update it. And I have to figure out, because I finally am going to like, I should probably figure this out because it's kind of out of date. Either I buy it, directly, and then they reimburse me, which is fine. But like, I'm still purchasing a Russian plugin, and I love the idea of that shouldn't be a problem. But like, just in terms of, I don't even know like what that is, like having that transaction on my like business account.
I wish that was a little bit more built into WordPress. Like I don't need every bell and whistle that's in that plugin, but man, do I need some of the basic ones. Yeah.
Sure.
And that is something that could be on 2024's list. Like, that might be relevant, the way that the project leadership approaches the design of the admin, like, is so just design based and nothing to do with users. But I think we all know, and all the people who make sites for clients know, or even people who just, want to log in and not see all that stuff, or have a different account where they could just blog. Like, it would make so much sense to tie in user roles and admin dashboard management with the new admin update. Like that.
Yeah.
That's a real opportunity. I haven't actually thought of that before or seen that out there. So
that's kind of something, and it seems like the way that they're pushing, as we are taking, and this is something that phase 3 of Gutenberg, it's something that they're working on. They are trying to move forward with the collaborative editing aspect. They're turning, or they're going to be turning WordPress into, effectively, they're going to turn the editing interface into not even
Google Docs.
Like, they're
Canva?
turning it into a multiplayer like editing experience. Like,
so that makes the permissions and the roles even more important, because you want to have, say you're working with your marketing team, you don't want them, you might have someone who's an admin or who's has a higher permission than the other person.
Right.
So there's, will that person be able to see live data, or is it like in Google Docs where you have your viewer, your reader, your editor, or your viewer, your editor, and your owner, or whatever, like those levels? If we're talking about that kind of collaboration, it's obviously on the back end. Like those are separate users that have to be there. Managing those user roles should be at the, when I'm thinking about it like that, should be baked in. Like there should be a way to have some, we obviously have the basic user roles, right? Whatever those are, but they are so limited. Like you still have to add in the create posts differentiation to differentiate between creating posts and pages and editing posts and pages. Like that's not even separated by default. It's like you can create it and edit it, and it's just like that's actually really especially if you're doing like smaller things or custom post types that you need someone to be able to create something but not edit it. Like the fact that I have to add in extra permissions specifically for that tiny, very clearly differentiated role or action, or capability is what I'm trying to say. Is that should be baked in. Like those capabilities, there should be absolutely some baked in capability management into the collaboration.
I and this is less of a prediction and more of a thing that I would like to see is since we are, and I know that we have to preserve backwards compatibility, WordPress has been pretty good about that. I won't, like, they've gotten a little bit away from that, especially as like Gutenberg and everything.
How are we going to have backwards compatibility with the admin?
Okay, so
is that where you're going with that? Because I'm like, what the heck?
if we're gonna start
Oof.
being a little more breaky with backwards compatibility, if we are going to start
We're break
um
friendly. We're like
yeah
open. Wait. Break curious.
sure
We're like,
if
maybe we could break a little bit.
we are going to
Unless I'm
have
into it, but
a
maybe.
conscious uncoupling that occurs, I but this is something though that I would like to see, is that maybe we start to make WordPress more modularized. And what I mean by this is, okay, so Tucker, you were going back to talking about using
Yeah.
micro.blog. Um, if you had a version of WordPress that, say, a host, or you could install whatever, that all it was
Was a
blog,
blog,
was just
pages,
the blog
posts and
and the
pages.
comments. You didn't need to worry
Yeah.
about pages. You
Oh,
didn't
not
need to
even
worry
pages.
about, right. You don't need to
Like
worry about,
Blogspot.
right. You don't need to worry about custom fields. You don't need to any of that stuff. If you wanted to add activity pub
I love that.
compatibility
It's
for,
like WordPress flavors.
so yeah, but we also see people grousing about the fact that they're like, I'm building a site, I don't need comments, I don't need blog posts, like I just want to be able to like build my
Mm.
thing, and I don't want to have to worry about the blog posts that, and of course
So like
everything.
choose your elements sort of installer.
Yes,
Like, do you
having,
want pages? Do you want posts? Do you want custom post types to be enabled? Do you want, whatever options you want here? And then like, you do want comments on, like, because you always have to do that after the install. That would make sense
right,
from like a install perspective, right? Like just
absolutely, but
like
having,
streamlined different levels.
yeah, and there are hosts out there that try to give a more customized experience to, say, like WooCommerce, where they'll pre-install and maybe even in some cases like pre-configure WooCommerce plugins for people. They'll try to
Content, like GoDaddy onboarder, like feeds in content and like base themes, like does some prediction stuff for you when you fill
yeah,
out what you want.
at DreamHost, we have a thing for our shared customers that it's a checkbox
I
that
just used
basically,
that this last week.
yeah,
I
that
did EWWW image optimizer and super cache, and
yeah,
did not do some of the other ones that are on there, but I loved that. I loved it
it
because it used to
pre-configured it for
be
you.
you can say deluxe and it gives you all the stuff.
Right.
And now it was like, here are your options. And I was like, perfect, because I didn't have to be all or nothing. I could just be like, great. And I just automatically had those things installed. Very handy. Really liked it. 10 points.
And you can change those options. It's not like completely baked in, but we just set folks up with like a good default.
Yeah. And like,
Tucker,
I
you had
loved it.
a,
I saw your influence there in the recommended plugins, by the way.
So
yeah,
it's patterns for plugins.
yeah,
Patterns for plugins. Oh, yeah. Oh, I
yeah,
like that.
basically. And
Because if we're going to use our language, we should use the language,
Right. I mean,
sure.
I don't like the language, so I might as well use it. So I don't really understand patterns, but hey,
Patterns are just,
that's
layouts.
that's great.
Patterns is just a layout. That's all it
But
means. It's
I mean,
layout.
you have it actually, the thing was, and the thing that we kept saying while developing both the image optimization and caching is basically taking the tenet of the WordPress project that is decisions, not options,
Mm-hmm.
and saying like, okay, we could just install, and we already did just install for our shared customers and for our customers on VPS who don't have caching like they do on our managed service. We're already installing super cache. Why don't we give them a sane set of defaults that almost effectively matches, not quite, because it's not happening server side like managed is, but like, let's give them a sane set of defaults that will basically cache their site against most traffic. And
I mean, it makes sense
still,
from both a hosting perspective, obviously a performance perspective, but mostly from I don't want to say customer service, but like just an onboarding perspective. Like, I think that's part of that has been a bit of the appeal of WordPress to a certain degree, that it was so like the same, right? You would log into everyone's you could just log into any WordPress anywhere, right? And it would look the same essentially. But that wasn't always the case, because oftentimes I would have people who had web devs who, I do a lot of like site fix this site because we can't use it, that they, used actually hard coded even like permissions in, and that they can't see things, or they can't, do certain things on their site. So even though they thought they were, in charge of the site, there was stuff that was left out. So, that has been taken to a sort of a different degree in the past, but I think it would make sense to have it be standardized so we can have both of those things. You could have the standard admin interface with standardized ways of bringing those things in and out, because even now there's like 10 plugins that will help you. Well, user role management is in chaos, right? Like there are so many plugins, and it's like you have to pick your suite, and like I don't know which one's going to be around or which one's going to be sanctioned by our country, this particular country next or whatever. So I don't want to have to think about where the plugin for my role capability, which is a very core function of the site, like I don't want to have to think about where that plugin comes from. Like that it really shouldn't be something that I am like, and you can manage it on the back end. Like it's all just putting code into your back end. So there's no reason that couldn't be managed within core, right? Like it's not like really doing so much specialness, right? Like it's really just creating new capabilities and allocating them differently. It's not a huge deal. I think that's why there's so many management plugins for it. But all of those different interfaces then become, all of those different plugins then have different interfaces, both for managing roles and for what people see. So I actually, in some cases, have to have both like a role editor and an admin, like a minimize to show people what are they seeing for those roles, because they don't all offer, like it's just this hodgepodge of everyone kind of being like, oh, we'll toss in role management here. And then it's like, how do you untangle from getting that role set up? And it's like, then you have to switch to another role manager. Like what? Like, it's just, this is so basic.
This is a thing that I've been saying for 12 or 13 years now. Is one of the great things about WordPress is that you can build anything with WordPress, but one of the worst things about WordPress is you can build anything with WordPress. Like
ding ding.
It's,
and you know what, the plugins situation, we haven't talked much about like the plugins, like overages, right? And the amount of time that, and the amount of plugins that are there. But not only did we, lose our amazing half elf, but AI has really, like they were already, I know when Mika was leaving last year, they had already seen a massive uptick in AI essentially generated and oftentimes copied plugins. So the fact is that like, we're not going to get less plugins that do these exact same things, because people are going to build out this same functionality and then slap a new, different logo and a different, some different branding on it, and then be like, this is our user role editor plugin, and that just makes it just, both splinters the community, causes the problem that you were talking about. Did I say we lost you? You didn't lose yourself. We lost you. Mika is saying that she's on a beach. She is. She's on vacation. But we lost you. It's much to the detriment of us and all to the benefit of you. But anyway, apparently plugin clones have always been a huge issue, but it's going to be even more of an issue because you can more easily just change a few things and have that whole, like, what is, whose code was what, and, change this code enough, ChatGPT, so that it doesn't look the same, but do the same stuff. Like,
I mean, we allow for derivatives.
And then
this type of stuff.
So of course, if there's a way massive uptake in this, like some of those things that are so fundamental that it spawns thousands of plugins should probably be baked into core.
Right.
And a lot of those plugins are free also. They're not, because they are so sort of basic. I think that it wouldn't be like destroying an ecosystem, right? Because that's not a huge deal to bring that into core.
Destroy the ecosystems. Honestly, look at what the things that have already been unseated. We had a load of plugins that did an XML sitemap. It was built into the most popular SEO plugins that do SEO, or that did sitemaps. Now sitemaps are baked into core. And those plugins are still focused on their SEO stuff. Fine. We have page builders. They haven't necessarily unseated all of the page builders out there. I'm pretty sure that over the course of this podcast, 2 more page builders have been launched. Just over the course of us talking.
Yeah, just in the last half hour.
Yeah, well,
but theirs are obviously gonna be better.
Yeah,
they'll be better. It'll be fine.
They're gonna do it differently.
And at least one of them is Gutenberg based. It respects what Gutenberg does, but it just adds the little things like that's still going to be a cluster, but they're trying to make things better. The talk of the way things need to go, it seems like maybe our old pal Scott Kingsley Clark is going to get a Fields API, that we're all going to get this Fields API that that will manage to shift things around. We have this whole push now, this additional phase 3.5, as I'm kind of like headcanon referring to it, with the whole importer plugin thing that got announced.
The data liberation.
Yeah, the data liberation front.
I know we have to call it that, right? Don't we have to?
Yeah.
Because Front is doing a lot of working. Like a lot is doing a lot of lift in that. If you call it the data liberation front, it is it has a good double entendre there. I'm just saying.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Believe me, I'm aware. That's why I was using the term. But having these plugins that I am hoping, and something that has long been an issue is I would love to see work start happening on Matt wants to get liberate data from more platforms. If that means that there is a Twitter importer, if that means that you can pull your Facebook posts in. I know David Bissett did a lot of work trying to get all of his data into like one site that collects all of his social media activity and everything.
Do you think that's the goal of the data liberation component? Because I feel like it's more about like bringing people over. It's more about using the community to build a way to have all of those.
The idea has to have money associated with it.
Like I think it has a lot less to do with, well, hence the front. I think it has a lot less to do with data liberation and more about data come over here into our hosted plan.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But I think that, and hopefully this means the WordPress import plugin has long been
there.
It exists.
It's been sitting there. I always think it's really funny when I have to update the WordPress importer in the import section. Like, it's like, I was like, what happened? What exciting thing did you change in there? It's like every 3 years.
For a while, Mika said it in chat, neglected. It's been neglected. There was a point where
many things.
Ryan McHugh was working on an updated version of the importer plugin. It was great. It was Ajax based. It didn't just, if you had more than like 30 posts, it didn't fall over because of some sort of PHP memory limit at your shitty shared hosting plan or whatever. It actually worked. In a lot of cases, importing stuff into WordPress is honestly, if you have a site that has been around for more than a year or so, is best done in WP-CLI, and you lose a ton of people telling them, okay, now you have to open up the command line to import stuff. Yeah, Say's pointing at herself there.
Hate it.
Like,
I hate it.
It's not happening.
Just the ability of me to type delete everything in there is like, wait, it's like, when you're driving over a bridge and you're like, oh, I could just drive up. Do you ever think that? They're called intrusive thoughts, right? You're driving on a bridge. Happens a lot after you have kids. And you're like, I could just drive off this bridge right now. That's crazy.
Right.
I don't want to just drive off bridge. You could just be like, delete all and
F
hit
to
it.
force it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
you're
then
like,
you
oh
just
no.
delete it.
Right.
I just like, I feel like I might be overcome suddenly with like a need to like just accidentally delete my entire site.
Yeah.
It's too terrifying for me.
I think the tough part about having that ability is the fact that we've been teaching people so much to not do this, to like cybersecurity has been like a huge thing that I've been having to deal with at work. And every single time it's teaching people to not do things. And then you contradict it and you say, okay, now I need you to go do this thing. And you're like, I need to do what now? I have to open up a command prompt, and then you want me to type some things in, and then you want me to install this like software. And yeah, it's like, it's weird.
We lost our Cosper. He had to go.
Alrighty.
It is weird. I was listening to you. I guess we're going to just close it up because we were all over anyway. And Cosper wasn't mad at either of us. I need you to know that. He just said he had to go. No, not you.
No
not you. I didn't want you to know that. You know that. I wanted anyone who's listening to know that.
Yeah, but they can't speak.
Go. Yeah, well, they might think that. I don't know. I worry about people, All right, well, we love you all. And you can come. Are we going to do after cooler for dev branch? After dev?
Sure, we can do that.
Branch? We can do after branch. Yeah. We can finish up. Tell us your predictions. And next week, we'll be back with the first water cooler of the year.
Yeah.
Where we can talk about the extracurricular stuff.
Yeah, so you can go over to WPwatercooler.com/aftercooler and you can go hang out with us over there. I don't have a little thing for the bottom or whatever, but
that's all right.
It. So here's our outro.
Mwah! See you next time.
Bye-bye. Go over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe and subscribe to this content over there. We'd really appreciate it. Talk to y'all later. You have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye. Happy New Year. Happy 2024.